Katanaut has been described as Dead Cells meets Dead Space, and that fits it quite well. It's a roguelike action platformer that's set aboard a once thriving space station, and your time-looping space samurai needs to slice and shoot, power up, and slice and shoot further and further to uncover the truth of what happened. Now I have to say straight up, I am not a fan of roguelikes. I'm inclined to bounce off them really quickly, and as I know that about myself, I don't give many of them the light of day. So you can completely disregard this video if you're looking to see how it stacks up against your favourite roguelikes. We can still be friends, just close it down, it's fine. But if you want to know if this one broke through, kept me hooked against all odds, then buckle up, Buttercup. I'm going to tell you a bit about my experience. Katanaut is made by Voidmaw and published by the recently resurrected Acclaim. You can see on screen that it's a pixel art game with a fairly dark art style and no shortage of blood spraying across the cold sci-fi walls. The core combat system it builds upon is a fast-paced dance of blades and bullets. You wield both a gun and a blade, but the gun has a very limited ammo capacity that gets replenished as you slice, and you slice a lot, like a lot, so there's no shortage of ammo available, but it comes and goes very quickly, and there's no world where you keep a nice safe distance from the horrors that prowl the corridors. Your Naut comes out of the box with a dodge roll, a double jump, wall jumping, and a slide worthy of Sunday League football. There's also no collision with enemies to slow you down, so it plays out fast and nimble, or it does if you want any hope of surviving. Being a roguelike as it is, there are opportunities to build upon that baseline in different ways each time you head into the space station. There's a small array of blades that alter the behaviour of your primary swipe, giving some extra mobility or enabling parries just as early examples. You commit to a choice of katana at the start of each run. There's a lot more variance available in the guns, including several options that you wouldn't class as a gun at all, so you might swap it out for a brief energy shield or a dash attack. Those still consume ammo as the guns do, combat still flows in much the same way, but there's different flavours and it's a nice touch. You can find, swap and change guns mid-run, but you can only carry one at any given time. You'll also be able to equip 2 skills that usually operate on fairly short cooldowns. There's quite a few skills available, but you'll probably establish a few favourites to look out for on each run. Then there's various perks and power-ups, both temporary power-ups for the run that you're on, and persistent power-ups that drive your progression in typical roguelike fashion. My favourite build so far has been a parrying sword, coupled with a gravity gun that consumes 3 ammo for each shot but has a fairly dramatic visual punch. My active skills were a plasma explosion wave and some floating orbs of death. And as perks, I had a little droid follow me around peppering my enemies for minor damage, a blade that caused bleeding over time, and if I hit a barrel into a foe it would explode. That build passes muster as pretty exciting, but I'm not convinced that any other build options actually introduced real variety in how I'd approach any situation in the game. I haven't found any alternative builds or twists that make each run feel really distinct. So all that said, is the combat fun? Yeah, I think it works pretty well. It's got a nice flow to it. It's mostly easy to track what's going on when the screen fills up with enemies. There's fair indicators of where the damage is about to come from. You can dispatch your enemies quickly, but the game will punish you pretty hard if you let your attention lapse. And it's pretty satisfying to decorate the environment with blood. The bosses that you encounter in the game are unpleasant. Well, the first boss is fine actually and fairly easy to stomp on, but the second one sticks to you like glue, like it responds to your controller input. It feels really oppressive in the confined space that you have and gives you very little opportunity to study what it actually does, study its play, before it just wipes you out. Katanaut does a pretty good job of unfurling its story over the course of multiple loops. It introduces characters and offers up exposition at a good cadence. It quite frequently drops novel encounters and surprises into places that you've already been to keep your runs feeling fresh. Persistent kind of meta progression systems that are supposed to drive you through the game are, for me, as someone that's less patient than a hungry cat, something of a killer. After about 10 runs into the space station, I didn't really feel any more powerful setting out than I was on my very first run. Between each run you're offered up a fairly substantial menu of power-ups that you could dine on, but it's an expensive menu relative to the currency that you actually receive from your run. My repeated forays into 5 or 6 levels packed with murder earned me 1 additional hit point and a stamina buff that I didn't really notice in practice at all. Now, a jump from 3 hit points to 4 isn't trivial, or at least maths tells me that it isn't, but it also sort of is. It does almost nothing to soften the second boss. When you pair the slow rate of power gain with the wall of frustration that is that second boss, I find the whole prospect fairly daunting. The number of times that I'd need to throw myself against that boss just to farm enough resource to soften the wall up a bit is perhaps more than I'm willing to endure. I think this is probably the point where I tap out. The best roguelikes, and by that I mean Hades, pick you up when you wipe out, when you don't feel like your next run's going to get you anywhere, and they give you some incentive to do it all again. A new mechanic that sounds fun or powerful, a choice that inspires a whole new build, just something that says, hey, try this, it's going to be great, and it pulls you back in from there. Now, I'm a stubborn mule, and I don't feel like letting Katanaut pull me back in right now, but if you're more of a connoisseur of the roguey genre, then you may get a lot more mileage out of it than I will. Anyway, I think that's enough out of this stubborn mule. If you've got a favourite roguelike that you think I may enjoy, shout it out in the comments. You're probably wrong, to be honest, but I'm curious anyway. Thanks for watching.